Stop tracking everything with paper and pen or only a spreadsheet and start using a tool called Boomerang if you are a freelance writer who's trying to automate more follow ups, set boundaries in your business, or even just try to get more work done without being constantly reminded you have emails to get to. I'm going to walk you through Boomerang and how I use it in my business. I'm Mandy Ellis. I'm a six-figure freelance writer who helps other freelance writers work with dream clients and hit five-figure months without the burnout, stress, and overwhelm. Here we are in Boomerang. We're going to walk through it. It's free to use up to 10 messages a month, and you install it on your Gmail. So if you have Gmail, you can quickly just install it, and you can use it either at the top up here. There's sometimes a bar up here, and then there is this little boomerang symbol down here. What I like to do is, let's say I have a message that I need to follow up on. So I will make sure to select whatever that is, right? Let me look at my calendar, or let me look at what other messages I have scheduled to send, or like, how is this working? So you can use this drop down to do certain stuff. And there's another drop down in here that'll allow you to do things. But I usually end up following up on a message basis. So let's say I'm just in here and I'm following up, right? I'm following up and I'm like, hi, this is a follow up email. And I'm like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm getting this right. So I say, hey, if somebody does not reply, boomerang it. So I check this box. If someone doesn't reply, that means that this will put it right back in my inbox at whatever time frame I want. So instead of having to look through a manual spreadsheet and figure out when to follow up with people, I can just boomerang every message to do this. So I can say, hey, if they didn't respond in 2 days or a week or a month, put it back in my inbox at this time. I usually like to select a day because I'm wondering, like, yeah, I hope it's not a weekend, or, I want to follow up on a specific day. Let's say it's a place where I want to follow up in exactly 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks or whatever. I like to pick a certain day. And then I usually put it back in my inbox at 8 a.m. so that I know that those are my follow-up emails. I know that they come in exactly at 8 a.m. I know those are mine. So every single time you need to follow up on a pitch, or you're following up with a proposal or a contract, or even an invoice, there might be LOIs you want to follow up with, or clients that have fallen off the radar. Boomerang is the way to do that. It makes it very simple. Let's say this wasn't even a follow-up email. Let's say this was just like an LOI to my favorite company. And let's say I was super obsessed and I wanted to follow up. I have a few of these. I have a few of these companies in my own business, where I'm saying hello and sending my LOI. So let's say I want to follow up with them in 3 months, right? I can still say, hey, if they didn't open it, regardless, I just, like, if they don't reply back, I don't get an answer from them, I can reply, or I can set this boomerang schedule to a month, or I can say, hey, if they don't reply to my LOI in 3 months, put it back in my inbox on that Monday. So put it in my inbox that Monday so that I can make sure to follow up with them and, you know, get this particular LOI for this specific client back in my inbox. This is a really easy way to make sure that you're following up when you need to. So I usually teach my Wealth Lab students and my Runway students a certain follow-up schedule. And that really depends on what you're doing, whether that's a proposal or an LOI, or you're following up on an invoice. But this way, if you are following up on a pitch with a magazine, you can just be like every 2 weeks. Or you can say, hey, tell me a note. Like, you can write yourself a note. Hey, remember, this is your favorite potential client. And then you can set notes to these things so that when they come back in your inbox, you know exactly what to do. And Boomerang has saved me so much time. Yes, I do record certain things in my LOI spreadsheet, but this makes it so that when I spend a lot of time in my inbox, which is very common, I can quickly just boomerang things out. So I'm like, hey, I need to follow up with this in 2 weeks. Boom, I just set it to do that. Boomerang allows you to track things as well. So let's say I wanted to track something, I can track it here. I can send read receipts. I could send a meeting request. Boomerang also has this little AI tool that I don't really use, but you could try it out. I don't feel like this super helps with our stuff that we're following, but it is something that you can use if you want to play around with it. So, um, we could use something, right? We already turned tracking off. I can turn it off. You could click send later. So let's say I was going to send later. That also works for Boomerang. But what I like about send later or Boomerang in general is that you can also schedule a recurring message. So if I want to schedule this recurring message, let's say I'm going to send it to follow up on a payment, which I have done. You schedule a recurring message to go off to say, hey, you haven't paid this invoice. Here's the link to do it. And it'll just continue to send that message until you turn it off. So this is something that I like for following up on late payments when people are like weeks or months late. I schedule the recurring message to go weekly or every other week, or sometimes like I had a client that didn't pay the invoice for 9 months. They were getting a daily email about it. So that's something that I think is really good with scheduling recurring messages when you need to follow up on specific things like payments. But this tool just makes it so much easier for you to keep track of things, to follow up on what you need to, know if someone replies or not. That's why it's getting back into your inbox. And if you're someone who really struggles with the inbox, like you really love being in there, and this was something that I dealt with for a very long time, where I just love checking my inbox like every 15 minutes, being like, who responded, what's going on in there? So I like to use inbox pause. So inbox pause is a tool that comes with Boomerang. So there's a little video that you can watch that'll show you how it works, but you can set a schedule to have your emails come into your inbox at certain times. So you can set an auto reply, hey, I'm pausing my inbox, but I just don't normally do that. What I do is I either say, hey, I want to pause my inbox for the next 3 hours, or I'll say, hey, every Wednesday, I know I have this meeting and I need to pause my inbox, or I need to pause my inbox because I know that every Friday I need 5 hours to film videos and I don't want to be constantly checking my inbox. So for me, the inbox pause has been huge. It allows me to just make sure that, like, even if I want to fall into the trap of checking my email over and over again, I can't. There's no new messages. So even if I go into my inbox, it's paused. There's no new messages coming in. So it'll still say 58 unread emails. And I'll be like, oh, nothing's happened. And I'll go about my day. But then at, let's say, 4 o'clock or whatever, it'll dump all the new messages in and then I can check my inbox. So if you are someone who is constantly checking your inbox, looking for like that hit of dopamine, like I was, and I still do this, where you're like, what's the new inbox or what's the new emails? What's in there? Set up inbox pause so that you can create concentrated times to do your work without checking, for new emails. You can also do this thing called delivery exceptions. So you can say, hey, if my editor from this magazine, or if my current clients, these email addresses email me, push those emails through. So that can be something where you're like, hey, pause everything. But if it is really important and it's a current client, let it through. For me, I think this was really the breaking point of me not checking my email all the time. Now I kind of check my email in chunks. So I'll check it in the morning, I'll check it kind of in the afternoon, and then I'll check it later at night. But this was how I did it. Was I started setting up all these schedules. I started being able to, put different things in certain places. I can pause after, I can say, hey, pause for 2 hours, unpause it after this time. There's so many customizations in here that allow you to use Boomerang effectively. And like I said, if you see here, you can use Boomerang. We can look at their pricing. You can use it for free for 10 messages a month. So if you need to follow up with 10 clients or follow up for your proposals or contracts or invoices or whatever, you can do it for free for 10 messages a month. The other pricing I think is totally fair. I think what I have right now, I started with personal at $5 a month, so about $60 a year. And now I think I have pro just because of the amount of messages I like to Boomerang. But for me, it's totally affordable. It is something that I feel like a lot of freelance writers would benefit from. And it's not something it's not something that is so hard to use. It's very simple. You click the buttons that you want in terms of like how much time you want your inbox to pause, or you can customize the time frames so you can time block your schedule. You can give yourself focus time. You can allow certain emails into your inbox, and it really helps. And like I said, I love this for following up. For me, I use this all the time to follow up. Yes, you can do scheduled send with Gmail, and that's fine, but it doesn't give you as many options as Boomerang, where you can change the settings and you can customize what it is and add these different options in here. If you want to say, hey, I want to put them on, let's say, a 3-month quarterly follow-up, you can put that in here. You have so many different things. One of the things I want to caution you on with this, don't get so worried about tracking everything, okay? Don't worry about open rates. Don't worry about things. We care about responses. For me, that's why I care about, hey, if they don't reply, you are going to send a lot of LOIs, a lot of follow-ups, a lot of messages to business clients and to magazines, and we don't care if they open it. We care if they have replied. So for me, the main trigger here is replying. Tracking, not very important to me. But the idea that I can send these messages later on without having to think about it, the fact that I can send myself a note that goes with it. So I can say, hey, if they don't reply, tell me about this and remind me with a note and like, hey, this is that thing. Don't forget. There's so many little tidbits in here that are really helpful, to just have it managed in your inbox where you're already there. And whatever time you set, pick the same time. So if it boomerangs, I like 8 o'clock in the morning. So you boomerang everything for 8 o'clock. You can go look at the timestamp of your emails and see, oh, these 15 emails are the ones I boomeranged. Let me get to those first. It's just a really simple way to follow up. It's a really great way to time block your schedule. It's a great way to send things later. So the last part here is that you can send things later to make sure you're on your business boundaries schedule. You can also boomerang your potential client questions. So let's say you get an inbound lead from someone and you don't want to answer right away. You don't want to look too eager. You want to give it 24 to 48 hours before you send like, hey, thanks so much for reaching out. You can use my free seasoned veteran cheat sheet. If you go to mandyellis.com/cheat sheet, it'll give you a bunch of questions to ask potential clients. And you can just paste those into this email, into Boomerang or into Gmail, and then boomerang the message for 2 days out, so that you can set that boundary with new clients. So it's not like you're like desperation, perspiration, answering an hour after they get, in your inbox with that initial message, but you've answered it. You've got these really great questions to ask those clients. If you go to mandyellis.com/cheat sheet, you can grab them, but it's a good way to kind of set that initial boundary of response time with a new client, and just quickly boomerang something when you're ready to. For me, sometimes I do email late at night. Sometimes I'll do it at 9 o'clock at night. And I don't want to just send an email to my client or my student at 9 o'clock at night. I will boomerang that message to go at 8:30 or something the next morning. So that way those messages and emails are always going in work hours. So you can say, hey, I want you to send this message, tomorrow at 7 a.m., right? Or 7:30. That way, even if you're working late, your messages will always be within business boundaries. So your clients will understand, hey, Mandy normally answers messages between this time and this time, or I normally get a message from Mandy between these hours and these hours. That really helps you from feeling like you have to answer everything on the weekends or get to your inbox quickly. This sets that boundary so that you're allowed to work whatever hours you want and you can boomerang your messages to apply to business hours for your clients. I think that too has been huge for me because sometimes I end up working, a 12-hour day, and there will be times where I'm working late at night and I want to finish up my day, but I want to make sure those emails aren't going out at night. I want them to go early in the morning. So, I just feel like that respects the boundaries of like, these are my business hours. And it really helps with submitting work as well. I've had several students use this to submit work while they went and did other stuff. So you can also do this to send emails where you're like, hey, it's Wednesday and my deadline is Friday, but I want to turn the work in on Friday and not today. Like, I don't want to like I have other deadlines and I want to turn this in on the actual deadline, not early, because I don't want my editor to be like, quick, do this thing. So you can use this to boomerang your work out. This is also another way that people will do this for vacations. They will take vacations and they'll let their client know, hey, I'm going to go on vacation or I'm going to have time off. But they'll also be able to do something like a staycation and have their work submitted on their deadline through Boomerang. The email's all set up, the links, or the doc is attached, and you just boomerang that message to send on your deadline day. So all of these boundaries we have in our business, the follow-up, the inbox pause, are huge at getting automation into your business, getting your time back, saving you money, making you look like a pro to your clients. It just makes everything run like a well-oiled machine. And the tool is super easy to use, super affordable. One of my favorites, Boomerang. If you feel like this has been helpful so far, give the video a thumbs up. If you want to learn more about freelance writing tools, make sure to subscribe. We're going over more tools in this series. So we'll be going over other tools like Butter, um, and we'll be going over Hunter.io. So I hope that this has been helpful. I hope this helps you see how Boomerang works, and I will see you next time.